he was saying recently, and I did have this last 2 minutes surveillance videos.
Oh, right.
Could have appealed. Registry record. So,
All right, we will call this February 11th, 2020 meeting of the Lawrence County Commissioners to order. Would all please rise for the pledge and stay up for a moment for a brief moment of silence. JR, would you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
The only thing I'm here for today, I'm from the Mission Barn, and one of the things you guys have done in the past and are hopefully going to consider is donating money to us to help build handicap ramps. In 10 years, we have built about 180 handicap ramps in Lawrence County. It used to be the women, now it's the men of the Highland House. They've changed to a halfway house for men, and that, we don't start ramps till late March anyway, so I'd like to invite you guys, Dan's been there, if you'd like to come out to the Mission Barn, we can give you a half-hour tour, maybe buy you lunch even or something like that. Think about that. I'm in a class this morning, so I gotta go, so
Yeah, absolutely.
glad you're here. Change is good. Keep fighting the fight.
Every day.
Thank you.
After you're done?
I was just going to ask, have you submitted a formal letter
We
requesting?
think we did, but I'm gonna check with Katie, who is the head of it, to make sure. I talked to Dan.
The traditional funding source that's utilized for this comes from the Register and Recorder's Office. Their Commonwealth law allows counties to collect dollars from state transactions that are put into a fund known as the Affordable Housing Fund. And in years past, we've devoted some of those dollars to the Carpenters Project in the southern end of the that does work on rehabilitation of people's homes that have needs. And then a few years ago, your organization approached us, and it falls right into the purpose of that fund. So one of the things we'll have to do, and I think Joe can do this, is check and make sure what type of a balance we have. But
Yeah, I'll get Katie to resubmit the letter, and knowing her will probably be in there tomorrow this afternoon, knowing her.
Right.
Appreciate you guys for all the things you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Is there anybody else in the public that wants to address the board? Gary, come on up. Please speak into the microphone.
I'll speak. I did look at the meeting minutes that you posted from the last meeting, or the last meeting that was approved. And I appreciate that my public comment has been recorded, and I think it was adequately summarized. So I appreciate that. I would like to ask that the board make one correction to it, though. When you approved the meeting minutes, I voiced an objection, which should be recorded. And I have you a copy. I'm sorry, I should have brought 4 copies.
It's all right.
But this is a copy of the sunshine law. If I can just hold one back for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe and I will share if you want to give another one to
Sure.
Commissioner Vogler.
I'll give you my copy when I'm done, but
Yeah.
there is, shoot, this is not the same copy that I usually work off of, but there is a provision in here that allows the public to make an objection if they feel that you have violated, or if a board has violated the sunshine law in some way, and that is a part of.
I actually went back in and I was mistaken last time when I objected to your objection. I did not know that clause was in the Sunshine Act. I went back in and I'll apologize for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
I'd also just like to point out to you, for your own personal benefit, just one of the last few provisions here in section 714. Just please take note of that. There's a copy for you.
Thank you.
Also, you may remember at the end of the last meeting, I asked that you please amend also the January 14th meeting minutes to include the comments of the gentleman who spoke that day. And then also on January 21st, when no comments for myself were recorded, I just asked again that you would correct the minutes.
And we went back and we checked the audio on those. And that's actually the reason why I asked for people to come in and at least come up close to the microphone. The audio, I guess, was sketchy and we couldn't pick it up. And so that's the reason it's not in there. It wasn't.
So I have, just for your benefit, I have actually received some audio recordings from the Board of Election meetings, and I think there may be something more going on with the recording device, because there's a lot of skips.
Value what you're doing here with your live stream, but we're also going to do them in-house additionally, just to get it out to as many avenues as humanly possible. And so I'm hoping the recording equipment will be, updated at that point to where we'll have a better capacity to pick up
That's
stuff
great.
like that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So,
To that, I will make one statement that as I sit back here and I'm noticing the technology of what I'm gathering is that in here Wi-Fi signals and other signals are unbalanced. Okay, they go up, they go down, and so you're not getting a strong signal there.
Okay.
And also, I would probably get a mic for that mic because it's lower than even you guys. So when somebody else speaks, it goes over the mics as opposed to into the mic so it can be heard. Those would be the two things. We changed a system that we had in our studio, but it did the basketball games of the last 2 nights. I've not changed anything with this, and the feed.
It's appreciated, and there are many things that we're working on and trying to. It's a juggling act, and it's been how many days? 30-some days that we've been here, and every day we 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we persevere. We're getting there, so we appreciate the patience and understanding, and also that. We continue to move forward. So thank you all. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see people out there. I wondered who was going to keep the seats warm since I was up here now. So that's great.
All right, any other member of the public that wishes to address the board? All right, seeing none, there'll be another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting, but we'll move forward to fiscal and contractual. I'll note that we have an invitation to bid out for the Shenango Sewer Phase 2 project, which is done through funds for that project are paid for at a Shenango, which we at the county administer along with CDBG allocations for Elwood City, Union, and where?
And us.
And us. Always forget about us. And on top of that, for that project, we have a mandatory pre-bid meeting. Any contractor, any individual wishing to bid on that project at the Shenango Township Municipal Building at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, February 12th, which is up next. We have the warrant register, so I'll give my fellow commissioners a second to look over that, and then I'll take a motion to accept the warrant register.
I'll move to accept the register.
Approve the
Yes.
budget. But I'll give a second to look over those, and then I'll entertain a motion.
And I will move to accept minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
All right, hearing a motion and a second.
Oh, forgive me, are we Are we doing them
Good.
separately, Mr.
We're
Chairman?
gonna do them together.
We're doing them together, so bear with me.
Okay, sure.
Please, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you for your patience, and I'll second the motion as noted.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Presentation of written correspondence. We have one letter from Frank B. Taylor, Engineering, dated January 31st, 2020, giving Act 14 notification for a general permit BWM-GP-11 maintenance.
I think I already did comment. Again, glad to see everyone. Thank you.
And Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just note that on Friday of last week, I had the opportunity to attend my first meeting of the Northwest Planning Commission of Venango County. And notwithstanding the bad weather, not a good day to drive, but we made it. And I look forward to serving on that board, as I know you folks are, particularly you, leading us in the Southwest Commission. And it's a good group of people, and it was a very productive meeting. If anybody would want to see the documents that were handed out, I'd be happy to share them. But thank you for allowing me this opportunity to represent the county at that level. So thank you very much.
Thank you for heading up there and representing us, and I'm sure representing us well. What was, just out of curiosity, what was the main topic yesterday?
They had an issue involving a loan they had made to a business in the city of Franklin. And they said rarely do the loans default. In this instance, there was a default. And they talked at length about an upcoming auction that they're going to be having to try to recoup some of the funds from that particular loan. And then there was some that had to be discussed as well. The board will meet again in April, back in Oil City up in Venango County. That was the primary point of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I attended one of those board meetings a long time ago. Tom McKinley, who's our other member of the board representing Lawrence County, invited me up, and the big discussion at that point was rural broadband.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, that board does deal with a whole lot of improvements, economic development, transportation. I mean, they deal with a whole host of issues. And we're excited to have such a good representative on it.
Not to interrupt, but did you notice when Dan spoke, it was out there, and then the volume is different because of the distance of the mics?
Okay, maybe I don't have mine. Is that? Oh wow, these work.
Yeah, yeah, and I wanted to point that out because it. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt, but that's the difference.
All right, up next we have JPO with discussion and possible approval of contract renewal for community alternatives for the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Hello, Lisa Haddad, Deputy Chief in Juvenile Probation. What you have in front of you is a contract that we've prepared through Children and Youth Services. We handle all contracts for both juvenile probation and Children and Youth Services. However, I'm here to speak on that because that was a contract that we personally have in juvenile probation, although we allow access to those services through Children and Youth as well. I'm here to hopefully be able to answer any questions you may have. We're asking obviously for a renewal of this contract. We started this program, which is our nurturing parenting program, in contract with Community Alternatives back in the 14-15 fiscal year. We have since last year been able to move Long-term goals of the program are to prevent recidivism in families receiving social services, lower the rate of multi-parent teenage pregnancy, and reduce juvenile delinquency and alcohol abuse. The nurturing philosophy of nonviolent parenting focus on the development of empathy, self-worth, self-awareness, empowerment, and discipline with dignity, appropriate family roles, and age-appropriate expectations of children's development. So we'd like you to consider please continuing this program for us. It works well with our juvenile delinquent families, and it targets our criminogenic need under family involvement.
And just to clarify, we've used this service provider in the past, and you're content with the services they provide?
Yes, we've been in contract with them since the fiscal year of 14-15.
Okay. And I want to note once again, you know, the county's only paying 5% of it, of the share of this contract.
Yes.
Correct. All right. Dan, any questions?
No, thank you.
Loretta?
I'll just comment that Lisa and I I've worked with juvenile probation, and in my past life as a police officer with the juvenile division, I know the programming that comes through juvenile probation. They make every effort, number one, to meet the needs of the community that they deal with, and number two, to be very cost effective for the services that they provide. So that's, it could have easily been kept at the 80-20, but as always diligent Lisa is that I know
We'll make that. Carol, what's the resolution number?
43.
43.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have our planning department for discussion and possible approval of a contract for the Quaker Falls Timber Management Plan to Hudson Forestry Services for an amount not to exceed $6,000. I think Danielle's here to talk a little bit about that.
she doesn't have her hip boots and waders.
No, that's okay.
I could not pass that up.
It's later, honey. Thank you, guys. I am here to just talk about a little bit the Quaker Falls Timber Management Plan and what that means and what we're requesting of you guys today. As you know, the county acquired the 180 acres from Penn Power, and we're looking to acquire some additional acreage. In doing so, we met with DCNR and their local foresters, and they recommended that we do a full timber management plan. And what the timber management plan entails is a stewardship management as well as an appraisal value of the timber on the property. So it's taking both that conservation measure as well as the monetary measure to offset and maintain that forest in the shape that it's in. There is some old growth down there that they would like to see grow and expand and educate the public on, which is part of the stewardship portion. And then, of course, being able to, the county recoup some funding by having selected timber appropriate to the site, not detrimental. So this plan costs approximately $6,000. It would be paid out of the planning's grants and programs line item, and the total cost would be not to exceed $1,000. And we have we've met with Hudson Forestry as well as DCNR, and the references for Hudson Forestry Services is impeccable for our area, and they are also located in Newcastle. Is that clear enough? Do you have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions. I think, I think this is a good program that I'm very glad the former board made the acquisition of Quaker Falls. I was having a conversation with Steve Craig a couple months ago, and he noted that it's the only real archaeological site in Lawrence County.
Correct.
Which is phenomenal that, we have public access to and public, control. And the other
Yep.
Thank you.
Right after
Yes.
Jason.
Absolutely. Okay.
Unless there's any objections, we'll make that resolution 2020-044.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Absolutely. You guys have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
Yes.
And finally up, we have discussion and possible approval of part-time security screeners, who, if anybody came into this building this morning, they had to go through
Right.
our security screeners to receive overtime pay for all hours worked in excess of 8 hours for any workday, regardless of the weekly hours worked. For this, they've always received that pay rate. I guess there was a discrepancy coming from our controller's office with regards to appropriate approval for that. So this is effectively just straightening that out. There will be, assuming we pass this, there will be no changes really to how those individuals are paid and how that specific part of the courthouse operates. Just clearing up a, I guess, clerical error on our end. But unless there's any objection to moving that, we can make that resolution 2020-045. All right, I will entertain a motion to move resolutions 2020-043 through 2020-045. Amend the agenda to allow us to vote on this.
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2020-044, now therefore be it resolved that the Commissioners approve grants and programs line item to pay for the contract for the Quaker Falls Timber Management Plan to Hudson Forestry Services LLC, P.O. Box 8406, Newcastle, PA 16107, for an amount not to exceed $6,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, Carol, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I will note again that upon the completion of that plan, we should be able to move forward with selectively timbering the site and pick up revenue from that, which again will be used for improvements on that property. Resolution 2020-045, now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, following shall be added to the Employee Policy Manual. Announcements. Next regular Commissioners meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February 18th in this room. There will be a Lawrence County Planning Commission meeting scheduled for Wednesday, February 12th, 2020, which is tomorrow, at Gallows Restaurant in Shannock Township. And also the courthouse will be closed on Monday, February 17th in observance of President's Day.
I apologize, but the planning commission meeting is not located at Gallows tomorrow. It's located at the Confluence in Newcastle.
All right, Planning Commission meeting, well, I'm glad.
Okay.
I would have wanted to
Absolutely,
Gallows.
right.
No, you're good. Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Any additional public comment at this time? Paul?
I have a question. I had a question during the discussion. Is there any procedure that I could have raised my hand and questioned during that or not?
If There's no formalized procedure, but if you raise your hand, I'll recognize you and you can ask.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just wondered, because I do have a question about the, Quaker Falls.
absolutely.
Was there a service bid sent out for those services? Why are they picking Hudson for services? Should there be a service bid?
It's a professional service. It didn't require a formal bidding. We requested proposals.
Okay,
So they submitted a proposal to us of what they would give us for that amount.
And I believe they were the only individuals to submit a proposal, right?
That is correct, yes.
Does that answer your question?
yeah, I'm just curious the difference of, if you need a service, why you only ask who you want, or you don't like advertise that out?
It's all different rules of what it is that you're going after. Certain bids, certain services do have to go out for bid, and it depends on the cost of what it is. Sometimes you can just pick who you
Okay.
want, or that there's a professional relationship and it's not required to have a bid.
Okay,
The other big thing, my understanding, that there's a rate at which if you go over, you're required to put out for bid. I believe that rate right now is what, $21,000?
Yes.
That is correct.
If it's under 21,000, you don't have to bid the process.
Yes.
And that's a state law.
That's a state law.
It's not our law, the state is.
Yes.
thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's a learn something new every day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right, any other public comments? Gary?
I, again, would just state my objection for not being allowed to see the meeting minutes before they were approved, and that there was no motion entertained for amending the minutes as requested. Thank you.
And I'll go back to the big issue with why we didn't amend them is we went back and we checked the report and we couldn't pick up what it said. That was effectively the reason why we didn't go forward with amending.